All right. Let's start the recording. And let's take this. And we're live.
Yep.
It looks like we're also on YouTube.
Yep.
So, hi everyone, and welcome to the April 11th PHPBenelux virtual meetup. Some housekeeping notes, of course. Let's have a look here. There you go. First of all, welcome. Our first speaker, you already had the possibility to see him in action, is Juan Pablo Ramirez. And he's going to talk about CakePHP test fixture factories. It's going to be a lot of testing. It's going to be a lot of awesome things that he can do with CakePHP. And I saw also he's going to use Passbolt's API as one of his things. So I'm very curious about how he's going to integrate those in his test fixtures. So that's for the first speaker. Around 8 o'clock, we have a break, a change of speakers. And as you know, it will always require a little bit of setup. And then Freek Van der Herten will discuss debugging with Myray.app. As you know, Spatie has been a valued sponsor for our meetups, and Freek was always generous enough to give us vouchers for both the PHP 8 training sessions as vouchers for the Ray app. So he's now going to talk about the Ray app itself, how it works under the hood, and of course he's going to provide new vouchers for us to raffle. Which brings us to the closing notes and raffle. Everyone will be excited. We also have our community care packages ready. So we're going to raffle 2 elephants. So it's going to be fun. And then because of the success of the last month's session, we are going to create a breakout room where we can have like an open discussion about PHP and stuff. For those who are new to the channel and new to PHPBenelux, a little organization. So within Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg area, we have a lot of local user groups. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they're not able to have their monthly meetups. So we're basically taking all of them under our umbrella, and we provide like a platform for the PHP community within Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg to interact and share ideas and move forward. As you probably have seen, we're already moving also outside of the Benelux with some speakers. So it's going to be very exciting all the time. We're growing. Basically, every month we have new attendees, new members joining the mailing list. So yeah, very exciting times. Again, very grateful to have Juan Pablo Ramirez amongst us, and also Freek Van der Herten, who announced early this week that he was able to present. So thank you, Freek, for making that quick call. And of course, this was not possible without the support of our sponsors, Spatie and Intracto, 2 agencies you really want to take a look at if you're building your next web application adventures. And yeah, go check them out. Into IT, we provide all the infrastructure and the logistics for this meetup. And if you're interested in knowing more about application modernization and running things in the cloud, have a chat with me later or follow me on Twitter. Yeah, of course, the raffles, as I mentioned, are community care packages. They're stacked to the rim with all kinds of goodies, including cute elephants. And these are now sponsored by Intracto. And of course, 5 vouchers are sponsored by Spatie for the Ray debugger. If you like Xdebug, you're gonna love Ray debugger. It's separate from your code execution, and it allows you to perform super easy and advanced debugging functionality. As I mentioned, we provide logistics at Into IT. So that said, if we're all having our drinks, I think it's time for Juan Pablo to get and start his presentation. I will make him a presenter first. Here he is again. So let me see if Juan Pablo, are you there? At least this screen is sharing.
No, video and audio.
One, two. 1, 2.
Okay.
Yay!
Yeah.
Welcome. Yes.
Thanks.
You made it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a long way to the fridge, but I made it. I got my bags without alcohol, so I'm set.
Awesome. All right. Well, take it away, Juan. It's all yours.
Thanks. Well, good evening, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be invited to PHPBenelux Meetup. Followed a few ones in the past and really interesting talks. So big pressure on me tonight. I'm going to talk about tests. Everyone talk about tests these days. I'm going to focus in particular on one point, which is the management of the test of your database in the scenario of test. The presentation is well for me and my good friend Nicolas Masson, who is sitting in Liège. A few words on us. I am myself, I was born very far from Benelux. I was born in Colombia, but I lived in Delft for some time. I was in Belgium 2 weeks ago, visiting Nico in Liège, and really enjoy the place of the world. So a pleasure again to be here. I'm a PHP developer at Pasbolt. I'll talk a little bit about Pasbolt after that. And Nico works for a Berlin-based company, but himself based in Liège. A word on Pasbolt, where I'm developing right now. Pasbolt, it's an open source password manager for Teams. A few facts, so it's based in Luxembourg. It's an open source password manager. Here's the link to the GitHub repository. It's a manager you can install on any Linux server. It has also a cloud hosting solution. It's based on Open GPG, so it's open for extension, you can use any kind of encryptions you want. It's collaborative. It's very useful if you are working in teams, if you want to share passwords. The RESTful API, we're going to the topic. We write a lot of tests, and it's built in CakePHP. So everything I'm presenting right now is applied to this project and well, some others that Nico is part of. All right, so test database. There are 3 steps involved in your test database. You want to create your test database. You want to clean it up before every test. And you want to insert test fixtures in it. This is the overview of my presentation. So I'm going to talk about testing. I'm going to explain a little bit how the ORM of CakePHP works. If you've worked with Symfony or Laravel, it's very similar. So you'll find similarities. I'll explain the package we've developed for CakePHP with Nico and how it made it simplified very much the way you create the test fixtures for your tests. And I'll explain the way we clean up the database, not based on the traditional way used by other frameworks, but a different one. I'll get to it. I see in the comments that something linked to the slides, but give a shout if the slides are not working now. Try to work it out. Okay.
Yeah, there is still a little bit of lag here. Just continue. I pinned the link to your slides on top, so if people can follow on their screen as well. And yeah, we tried. It was a little bit better. I don't know what happened again. So just continue.
It's still not good, Mest. Now I can see on the screen. You are seeing there.
Maybe it's one of us should take over the presentation. I mean, just as the screen sharing, but yeah, then it's difficult for live coding, of course.
Well, it's okay for the live coding, but no, it's not helping. Yeah, if someone can take over, that would be good. Yeah, just for the slides.
Can we share this too? Ah, yeah, but then you should unshare your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're at the test pyramid.
Yeah, I see it. So probably someone will have to move the slides for me. A bit weird.
Okay. That's why.
If you to move the slides, you just have to press down with your
okay
with your keyboard. Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's do it old school this way. If you go up again, so I can start back to the pyramid.
Yep.
Yeah. Basic test pyramid. So you know the end-to-end tests on the top, integration in the middle, the unit test down. If you go down, this is an example of an end-to-end test. We are written bit BIATs. So we try to start by writing the we try to start writing a end-to-end test first. This is the very first thing to start with, so everyone is on the same page. I don't have to write them. Actually, the project manager can write them. and the front end knows what to expect, the back end knows what to do. So this is the practice we try to take. If you go down. Yeah. So you see, you create the background. Given I create a user with a given ID. Here we're already in the case we are going to have to insert test fixtures. We're going to have to insert in the database a user with a given ID. If you continue, the same here. I'm going to log in with a certain permission. We have to create another user that will have given permissions. Again, we have to insert test data and go on. The same for each scenario. We need a handy way to insert data precisely with certain conditions. Yeah. Right. And well, after that, we move to integration tests. Supposing you're working with an hexagonal architecture, integration tests is everything that is going to interact with the outside of your application. I mentioned that point because it includes the interaction with the database. I'll get back to that point, but in many frameworks, the insertion of the creation of test fixtures forces you to interact with the database. And I'll show that the package we propose has the possibility to create features without persisting them, which is a gain, which allows you to do real integration tests and gain in efficiency. And then we go to a unit test, where this is the simplest test. If you go down.
Okay.
Thanks. The unit test is if we have a method has permission, we're going to create a user. Can go down, and as you see, these are the factories. I'll present them afterwards, but we create very simply a user that has a given permission. The with permission is a method that's been written in the user factory class. And in that case, we call get entity, which is not going to persist it. So we're really doing some unit testing. We get a user with full associations. And after that, yeah, the second line, we act, we assert, we check the output of our method, and then we assert, and in that case, true. If you keep on going down, yeah, another one. This is another example where it's using PHP unit. So in that case, we use the data provider annotation. Provided a PHP unit, we have 4 scenarios. We provide as first parameter the permission of the user and what to expect. True if he's an admin, a guru, or has the permission foo, and false if he has the permission bar. And then if you go down into the test, we pass the 2 parameters, and after that you see that we just check that that user had the permission foo. And this is just to illustrate how handy factories are, because you can in no time create exactly what you need for your tests. And using the fixture factories of CakePHP, you don't have to persist. You can just create them, and it's going fast. I'll explain after that. So if we go on, I'm going to talk a little bit about testing. So I think you should be able to go down there. Yeah, ground test should be readable. When you see a test, you want to understand it. They should be easy to write. You don't want to spend too much time writing your test. And they should be fast to run. That's referring to the point I said before, avoid interacting with the database, because interacting with the database is slow per definition. If you have a lot of tests, of course. Right, let's go on. So a bit about testing. I'm sure you guys do write tests. I'm just giving my opinion on it. To me, testing is first of all a development tool. It helps me to develop my code, to make sure to track bugs, make sure that everything works fine. It provides you clean code, because if you can't test your code, it's probably because it's too complex. You have to split it in smaller testable parts. It documents your application. So when you read your test, you know exactly what this method was supposed to be providing. And as we've seen with the integration test, you can really print your test, give it to the customer, give it to a colleague. You know exactly what your application is doing. It ensures code integrity, because if you're going to move to another framework, if you're going to upgrade your framework, or if you're developing a new feature, you know that everything still works. And it saves you time. If you go on, yeah, it saves time in the end. People are a bit reluctant sometimes, say, oh, it takes time. True, it takes more time when you develop, although if you get the habit, it goes fast, provided that you have the good tools. And that's why we came up with the Fixture factories, because without them, it was awful. A little word about the CakePHP ORM. So you have, it's an MVC framework. You have a model layer. Here is an example of the users table where you are going to associate it to another model. In that case, I'll take a simple example of users belonging to several groups, and groups having certain permissions. So in that case, the link is to the user group. If you go down, we should go to the users group table, which is associated to users and permissions. It's like doing the joint between the two. And you have the permissions, which is associated with the user group. If you go down, I'll explain a bit how queries work in CakePHP. Knowing that we have this ORM, if you're going to retrieve all your users and you want to to join the user groups and the permissions in your result, this is the notations you'll use. So every CakePHP developer is familiar with this notation. If you want to filter your users, for example, you want to get all the admins, you're going to filter through the user groups and permission tables and retrieve the ones with the permission admin. So I'm showing you that, not to teach you CakePHP in 10 minutes, but just to show you that this notation, this string notation, is very useful, quite powerful. And we're going to use it in the Fixture factories to create fixtures that not only the user, but also all the associations. And we're going to use that notation as well. Yeah, you can just go on. Guess that's enough. Check the doc if you're interested. This is what the factories look like. So initially, we looked at what Laravel was doing. I think that was 2-3 years ago, and found the factories like the right solution to take. It was not, there were not classes back then. I know that with the version 8, they've shifted to classes. We've started with classes immediately. So this is the user factory class. You have to indicate to it the model it's working on, and then you set the default template. We're using Faker. So if our table has 2 fields, username and email, per default, every user you'll create will have a random username and email. So this is very useful if you have required fields. And yeah, I'll show that later. You can overwrite that. But yeah, if we go down. This is an example of how the factories work. So you want to create a user factory make get entity, and you have it. If you want to make 4 of them, you have the 4 arguments. You can put an integer, you get 4 of them. And you know, line 5, I think if you go down, it will highlight some, you know, exactly. If you go to line 5, this time we persisted. So this is in the case you're doing an integration test. You really want your data to be in the database. You can persist it. You can patch some data. So create a user with a username. You can create 2 users with 2 usernames, for example. You can go down. It's a bit like a Swiss knife. This is how it works with associations, and this is where it gets really useful. Because creating 1 user, you can create a new user, like instantiating the user class. But with this, you can create 2 users that will all have the permission foo, for example. In that case, you can create a user that has 2 permissions, 1 foo, 1 bar. And then, yeah, what you can do is wrap, since it's a class, you can wrap that with user group.permissions into one class with permission foo. And this is very useful because you have the auto-completion. It's intuitive. For the developer that is new, he will see immediately what he can create, and it tells him also a bit of the story behind the associations. Like, he will know that the users can be associated with permissions, and if he clicks on with permission in his IDE, he will have explained how do they link. Yep, next one. So that's an example, go quickly, but how a unit test works with factories. I've already shown that before. We're going to test our users' permission, and it's documenting already your code. The orange part is actually the documenting part. You show the context, then it tells to the developer that's reviewing it how the tables are linked with each other. So that's it, as we've seen before. And yeah, if you go on, I think it's the example. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. It documents well, it's handy, and it's fast. And then if you want to test your method, you will just pass the parameter permission to your factory. And this way, writing tests, and not only one test, but here you have 4 different tests, is very fast. You don't have to wonder, I'm going to write another test. It's taking time or so. In this way, you can write tests in no time. Yeah. And well, I'm back to what I said before. In your behavioral tests, you can translate, given I create a user with ID 504, you can relate to what I've shown before, the code behind that in Behat, because Behat translates a sentence into code. So there has to be a layer that translates with the factories. It's very simple. You just use the commands we've seen before, the same with the permission. So yeah, you'll be able to write behavioral tests very, very handily. Yeah. A small graph study I did in the past showing the cost of persisting your entities. So in this graph, you have on the x-axis the amount of tests you are running, which correlates with the size of your application, obviously. And on the y-axis, the time your tests take to run. And in red, you have the case where you don't persist. So the case where you're going to do some real unit testing. And in blue, you have the case where we persist. And you can see that if you don't persist without the interaction with the database, your tests take no time. Independently of the size of your app, you will not be stuck at some point with everlasting tests. Of course, you need to interact with the database with the integration tests, but on the unit test side, if you can avoid it, do it. And I know that some other frameworks don't offer that possibility. When you create a factory, it will immediately persist it. And the advantage, if you don't persist, is that you don't have to clean your database. So it's better not to persist if you can avoid it. Okay, on the next one. Yeah, that's a small wrap-up of the advantages of the CakePHP Fixture factories. If you go down, there are a few bullet points, I think. So we provide the Fixture factories provide a default template, as I've seen before. As I've shown before, there were only 2 fields, username and I think it was email. But you can come up with more complex cases where your users should always have a certain role. You can do all that in the template. We're using the association builder of CakePHP, which enables to build associations very efficiently. And you don't have to persist with the factories. And what I didn't mention before is that they're going to generate random IDs or random UUIDs if you are using UUIDs. So that's a big advantage because I've just to go back. Yeah. If you when you write tests, if they all start with 1 and then 2 and 3 as IDs, you can come up to cases where your test pass, but just because 2 entries had the same IDs, not going to go into details, but it got us into troubles. So the set of starting with a random ID, it's huge. You are sure that you don't get into that trap where you get a false success just because by accident some IDs were equal, because if they all start with 1, you might come easily into that case. That was it, yeah. First for the fixture factories. And on the second part of the presentation, I'm going to talk about the database cleaning. Yeah, so I know that Laravel and Symfony works with transactions. So whenever you start your test suite, you're going to have to create the test database. So generally you will work with migrations, the same as you use on production, and populate your test. So far, so good. And then you want to clean up your test database between each test, obviously. So what Laravel and Symfony does, they work with transactions, which is very efficient because you start a transaction, run your test. When it's done, roll it back. There's very little to care about because the transaction cares about all that. So it has a few disadvantages. I'll discuss it right after. And because of these disadvantages, and because CakePHP didn't have a solution for that, well, at least not a solution that was compatible with the fixture factories approach, we've developed with Nicolas Masson our own method, which we have then extended to a kind of universal method. So we have it working on CakePHP. We have an adapter for Laravel. I mean, they have their own solutions already, but I'll talk about it later, but I'll talk about it when I'm done with the explanation. So on the next slide, I'll explain quickly the drawbacks of working with transactions. So on the first part, what I call the warm-up, your test suite starts, and what you want to do is to truncate all the tables. And actually, you are going to have to drop all the tables because you don't know in which state your schema is. It might have changed. So what Laravel does is to drop all tables, run the migrations, and we're good. You start with a fresh new schema, you know it's clean. And the problem with that running migrations, if your project is big, can take seconds. Can take, some cases, up to 10 seconds in some projects I worked in. So every time you're going to run a test, even a single test, and if you do some TDD, this is quite often, you have to run your migrations first. It's running in the background, but it takes 10 seconds, say it takes 10 seconds. And if you do it every 5 minutes on average on an 8 hours programming day, it takes some time at the end. And yeah, if you go down, the tests start. So with the SQL transaction is started, we run the test, and the transaction is rolled back in the end, which is very fast. It has a little disadvantage, is that if you change the schema during your test, this is some edge cases in which they are aware of, and they say, well, there's no solution there. But if you break the transaction, so to say, you're screwed, and your test won't get cleaning the database anymore. But this is really a picky case. This is not. I think the transaction solution is excellent. It's just that it forces you to truncate and drop your tables at the beginning of each of your tests. And when you're done with your tests, since the transaction is rolled back, your test database is empty again. That's a little drawback for a developer running tests, developing running tests, because sometimes you want to see at the end of your test what's in your test database. Maybe your test failed, you don't know why. It's a good moment, you want to check in your test database what's in it, and this solution won't allow you that. So again, we didn't develop on the next slide, I will explain our solution that we did not develop because we were picky on the solutions on the market. I think they're good, but we came up with with a solution that has little advantages. So I thought it would be good to present that. If you go down, we are going to, our approach is cleaning the database using triggers. So actually, I was not very much aware of triggers before developing that. Nico had the idea. I think he had a very difficult night one day, had a nightmare, and he dreamt of triggers and came up with that solution. I think you must be a robot to think that sometimes. And well, the idea is what? We create a table that we call a dirty tables collector in our case, that has a single field, which we call a table name. And for each tables in the database, the migrations were run. So we know the schema. We're going to create a trigger on each insert for each table that is going to insert the name of the table that's being touched, that's being dirty, made dirty. We insert the name of that table in the dirty table collector. And that's it. So if we do that, we don't have to truncate all the tables because that dirty table collector is persisted. It's always there. So if I start my test again, it tells me already which tables I should clean. I don't have to clean them all. I just have to clean the ones that are in the dirty table collector. And once the cleanup is done, we empty also the dirty table collector. So we know everything is clean. We can start the test, and we don't have that warm up that the other frameworks are forced to have, namely running the migrations. So it's fast. And if you go to the next, we truncate the dirty tables in one SQL procedure. So it's all happening on the SQL side. It checks what tables are in the dirty table collectors, truncates them all. I wouldn't say it's as far as the rollback. I didn't do any performance study on that so far, but it's damn fast. I mean, it's extremely fast because it all happens on SQL. There is no interaction with PHP. PHP only tells do the cleanup, and the whole cleanup is done in the background by SQL. We run the tests, and when the tests are done, nothing happens. So you can really query your test database and check that all that you had created in your tests are there, or whatever, if you want to debug. And I think this is a very big asset for the test-driven developer. Yeah, that's it for that that method. We have as I mentioned, it's fast because you skip the whole warm-up, and you don't have the problem that if your schema changes during the test, edge case again, but nothing is going to be broken, which the rollback approaches misses. So we have created that repository, which is aiming at creating interfaces for the other frameworks. So with Laravel, it's working. I've contacted the guy in Laravel. I mean, they're very happy with their solution so far. And there's a lot of, as you've seen in the previous slide, there is a lot of MySQL or SQL, because it works not only for MySQL, but there's a lot of SQL code to maintain there. It's not really to be maintained, but so it's fast. You have no warm up. It's robust. You won't be screwed whatever happened during your test. So yeah, it's TDD friendly because you can check in your test database what has been created. It's compatible with MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server, and SQLite, and it's open to contributions. We worked with interfaces, so if someone has another engine to support, welcome. We have a layer for Laravel, and well, with Symfony, it's always a bit longer. It's a bit more complex with Symfony, but it's also possible, definitely. And yeah, you are very welcome to join the project if you're interested into that. I don't know what's the future of this approach. We use it on our project. CakePHP is also interested by it. to potentially put it also at some point in the core or an associated package. And yeah, I think that's it for me presenting the concept. Time for conclusion. So yeah, build fast with CakePHP. CakePHP is really it's really good to develop. I mean, it goes very fast, especially everything that goes with the database. You can create associations. It's very intuitive. So I recommend it if you want to start a new application and start really fast. It's a good one, especially with the Fixture factories. And yeah, join us if you're interested by the concept. If you want to give it a try, you are very welcome. That's it, I suppose. Yeah, that's it for me. So bottom line, I wanted to put CakePHP back onto the PHP map because I think they were lacking really some solutions on that aspect, and testing is to me the edge point for developing a solid application, a big application. If you cannot write tests, if you're struggling writing tests, there's no way you're going to grow big. And well, with this solution, I think CakePHP becomes a good pick again for big applications. Thanks for listening. I'm going to check into the question. I see there's already one popping out, and even later, feel free to ask. Yeah.
Well, amazing. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Very happy. Sorry about the screen. I had some coding, live coding examples, but it was just to show you what's the output of the factories.
Yeah,
but maybe
the screenshots in the slides they really sophisticated, and this old school approach of someone else doing the slide for you, it makes you feel like a VIP, right?
It's great because you can grab your beer, you don't have to click around, and really enjoyable. It's without alcohol, I have to mention again.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, let me turn on the Q&A, and Q&A has been enabled. This one was from me. So
no, I haven't, because I'm not even aware of that VBO's MySQL simulator. So it's more informative than a question for me. But great, okay. I'm going to Google that.
I will put the link in the chat here, because as you mentioned also in your presentation, the biggest hurdle is when you're performing your database testing is always the tear down and the build up of your databases. We improved a little bit by creating a master data set and then just copy the tables over and the databases over into different. It worked-ish, and then I discovered this MySQL simulator created by the guys from Vimeo, who are also behind Psalm. That actually said, hey, we're facing the same problem, and we solved it by creating a MySQL simulator in PHP, so you can actually have the code execution for your database performed against that simulator, and have your test respond in that way. But it's still a simulator. You're not actually interacting with data, especially when you're dealing with financial transactions and those kind of things. Yeah, it's getting sticky and it's not really working. So still using a proper database helps in that regard to properly test those changes. But then you're still dealing with that startup time.
I see the potential there. Yeah, definitely. This addresses the second part of the the presentation now. I don't know how you do create your test fixtures, because if you say that you insert a bunch of data, these are going to be shared by tests probably.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not ideal. I mean, I know, I'm sure you're aware of it, but like each test should have its tiny information, its tiny features, and I mean, regardless of the philosophical question, it's it's really hard to maintain, because you write a new test, so you're going to insert another thing, so your test works, but you had another test that were expecting 4 users, and suddenly there are 5, so the test breaks. You see what I mean?
Yeah, there is a lot of dependency, and you need to do this tear down and build up for every single test, which is okay as long as you have like these very unique interactions with your databases. But the moment that you do like batch processing and mass manipulation of data, for instance, a very common situation is, hey, we're at the end of the month, we are updating prices for our products in our e-commerce platform. And they have this system built, and now it's semi-automated. They add a 2% somewhere, and then all of a sudden something in the process is broken, and it gets corrupted inside the database. And those are the things that we're testing against. And when you have like one entry that can be good or false, that's okay, but you also want to do this over a massive amount of edge cases. So the decimal separator being there, not there, 1,000 separate, and all those other things. So yeah, it's always a pain when you have to do like let's say 500 database tests. That means that 500 times you have to tear it down and build it up. 500 times 10 seconds, it's 5,000 seconds. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, well, with the transactions, you don't have that delay so much. You have it at the very beginning when you create your schema or your import. But I get your point still. Yeah. See, you need that warm-ups too. Yeah.
I don't see any other questions at this moment. No. Guess that's it.
Okay, thanks. I'm online, so any questions pop up, you tell me. Thanks again for inviting, and looking forward to the next talk.
Well, before you go, I have one last question. You mentioned you want to put CakePHP more on the PHP map again. Is that your company that is actively promoting it, or is that just you and a community that is promoting it?
No, it's the community. I think CakePHP has very big assets, and I'm not saying it's not on the CakePHP it's not on the PHP map, but honestly, it doesn't have as much attention as some other frameworks, although it has very powerful features. And I think that the testing tools were really prehistoric, or let's say, not anymore responding to the needs of today. And this is why we've developed that. Myself, I'm independent, and I'm not even core developer of CakePHP. I'm just using it daily and promoting a little bit, because of course, we look at what the other frameworks do. I think that the factories of Laravel are brilliant. I think Symfony is working a little bit behind. And with the power of the ORM of CakePHP, I'm saying it humbly, but I think that the CakePHP Fixture factories taking that power of the ORM make it really efficient. So if you can write tests very quickly, a framework is a framework. In the end, it's really, you have to write the code yourself. But if you can write tests very quickly, you have all the tools to build a very solid application. So
yeah, I agree. Well, if there's anything that we can do, if you know of any hackathon going on, or doing some work on CakePHP, let us know, and we will inform people that might be interested in getting active in this. I mean, we've done a couple of bug hunt days. We did it for Symfony, we did it for Zen Framework. Maybe if there's an issue list for CakePHP, that we can organize something like a bug hunt day.
Definitely, yeah. The community is very active. That's also a nice part of CakePHP. We have a Slack channel, you have a forum. We have a Cake Fest. It's every year. I think it's in October. So there again, you're welcome to join. It's very cheap to join. They're also looking for sponsors. If someone is also interested to do some advertising, you can advertise also there. CakePHP Cake Fest is open, and definitely give a shout if you want to contribute, if you want to get involved. Very, very welcome.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's go back to the slides here, and we're a little bit early, but that's okay. Let's make it 10 past the hour. Let me see if I can update this. So 10, and make it bigger. That's why I love this tool. Up. There you go. So 10 minutes past the hour. We take a short break. I will see if I can have Freek already set up and do a little trial. And I will see you all in a few minutes. Yep. So Freek, let me just get Juan Pablo out of the way. So Freek, I made you presenter. Can we have like a quick check?
Hey, Mike.
Whoa, you're in a magnificent studio.
Yeah, I pimped my home office a little bit. That's what a pandemic does, If I'm going to spend all my time here, it must be a good room. So I bought some lighting, I bought some good equipment, and now I'm ready to stream, man.
Yeah, there is still a little bit of an echo. Did you got yourself some sound panels?
Not yet. They are on the way. But I ordered them from Amazon, but I think they'll arrive next week or something like that. So yeah, I'm aware that there's a little echo going on in this room. So probably the next time I'll do a talk, you'll see like big isolation panels behind me. But I hope it's not too bad.
No. The sound is crisp and yeah, it's just that little echo on in the background, but it's really good.
Cool. Yeah.
Can you share your screen for a second just to make sure that we don't have any lag?
Yes. On off-screen sharing, which screen? This one, and that is my screen.
Looks good. Looks good. I see my hand move. It's real time. So
Yep. Let me do a little bit of hide here, a little bit of animation. I hope it's all fluent enough.
Perfect.
Nice. Okay. That's good. Everything went well from the very first try. So that's also what a pandemic does, I think, that these things actually work after a year of practice.
Yeah, plus, this is your second time on the show, so...
Yeah, I know where the buttons are now, so...
Yeah, you have become a veteran.
Yeah. Are there any other people that already had like their second turn on the online channel?
No.
Ooh.
We are still looking for contributors from the PHPBenelux community. From time to time, we get people like Jose, Pablo, who volunteered over Meetup or on Twitter, saying, "Hey, I want to share something." But most of the people are from within the community itself. Some of the known speakers said the biggest challenge for them was talking to a camera. It's a little bit awkward for them. I can understand a little bit because you don't have the face-to-face kind of interaction. We tried to solve this early on when we Paul and Nick went to Ter Elst. We rented a big room there, and we as coordinators of the meetup were live audience for the presenter. So that was like a hybrid model. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, more restrictions, and now we're back here.
Yeah, at least you're doing something, so that's already good, keeping like the spirit a little bit alive. I think most of the meetups in Belgium have gone a little bit into hibernation, or at least the PHP meetups, I think.
Well, it's a global phenomenon. You have a couple of people that are doing things, but they don't get the traction. They don't get the community back together as when they were doing the in-person sessions. On the flip side, I also see communities, especially around DevOps and Golang, when they have like a meetup. It's like 200-300 people attending every session. So it's
I'm also thinking that the pandemic has been going on for a while, for over a year now. Maybe people are just a little bit tired of just talking to their screens and not having like real interaction. I think everybody's craving for like a real conference again, where you can hang out with real people. It's a little bit my feeling that there's like no meetup or conference that has matched what you get from an in-person event. Sure, this is fun and we're talking and it's nice talking to you, Michael, as always. But it's not like in Ter Elst, when the PHPBenelux conference is there, where you bump into people and you see like 50 people and you meet new people and you stumble into conversations. That's something that you can't copy online, I feel. And I think that most people miss that the most.
We tried it last month with a breakout session after the presentations, where we could actually have like a community discussion about what happens, and I think it was a good success, especially from the feedback that we got. So we try it again this session.
Okay.
So feel free to join in the breakout session room and have like a discussion about PHP or the things you were talking.
It's 8 o'clock.
I shut it down. I shut it down. No notification.
Funny.
I shut it down. How many buttons do I have to click to have it shut?
Luckily, that notification came at 8 o'clock exactly. It was the right notification, so that was good. That's the good part about it.
Well, if a computer is wrong on date and time, gosh,
yeah.
let me not go there.
Hey, here's a question in the chat. And I wonder that myself too, Mike. We're going to interview you a little bit. I assume there won't be an in-person PHP Benelux conference this year. What are the plans with the conference for this year?
Well, the plans are as they were. I mean, the moment that we have like a view on, yes, everything will be back to bringing people together. And that will be the moment that we just go like, hey, yeah, okay, get us a space, we'll do this, you know? But unfortunately, well, you're also here in Belgium. I mean, I think it's all over Europe. There's not a single government that has a directive towards their people saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're expecting to be on the roadmap. And we will have like restrictions up until like May, June, whatever. Then we have like a soft rollout back to normal until like December. And then in January, you have like a full back to normal kind of situation, like a directive.
Yeah.
And I miss this leadership. Here in Belgium, I miss this leadership in Europe. We don't know.
Yeah. On the other hand, I think, our leadership, I'll speak for Belgium because I don't know every country in Europe, but in Belgium it could be a little bit better, but I don't want to dive into politics. On the other hand, I think it is kind of hard to predict what a virus will do, or what we as like a big group of people will do. It's hard to predict, I think, because if you say, hey, in May or in June, it'll be solved, and then right before you said you are going to open things, another peak hits, then you have to cancel everything. People won't be happy. I think it's a situation where, nobody's happy. Not the politicians, not the people, certainly not the organizers. I hope it will become a little bit more clear in a couple of months, that it's easier to predict what is going to be possible. But if I understand you correctly, you're not necessarily waiting for like your regular date in January to do the conference. You could go earlier if possible.
The moment that we have like, okay, this is going to be like feasible. Okay, organizing a conference requires time, but maybe we can just go like low budget, quick action, and just make it happen. We have enough speakers here in the Benelux. I mean, we can fill a full day of talks on a schedule just by the people that we're having here in our neighborhood, and we can bring the communities back together. We need to. It's not about organizing a conference for profit and fortune. No, it's organizing a conference for the community. What we have seen, and you mentioned earlier, every user community is now on hold. It's now on a waiting pattern. We need to re-enable those communities. We need to re-enable those interactions again. Because without those interactions, it's falling apart and it's falling into pieces, and it's not helping anyone moving forward.
I do wonder how it's going to be when like the pandemic is over, if everybody is going back to like the way it was in regards to meetups, like we're going to conferences and we're going to meetups again, or that it will be like a slower ramp up back to the level where it's going to be. My personal feeling is that a lot of people are waiting for this, and if you are going to organize a real person or an in-person event, that most of the people will probably just come back from the very first edition. I hope that's certainly for you.
Well, I don't want to rush things and move at light speed, but the situation is as follows. everyone is so stuck in their work from home situation. People are in need of community. They want to have in-person discussion, in-group discussion. So if we can enable it, even if it's like fabricated and putting tents outside and makeshift kind of organization, people don't care about that. People want to be in the vicinity of each other, and we can enable this first step. That would be like massive. And then bringing that knowledge back in, getting those conversations going, getting those inspirations back to the people. As I saw this talk of Juan Pablo, it inspires me. Like, I used to work with CakePHP like so many years ago, and now I see this and I go like, wow, this is amazing, and it gets me excited, and getting inspired by people like you Juan Pablo, and all the other people that we already had on this meetup. Yeah, that is what people want, and having that in-person kind of discussion. That's why we also have that breakout session at the end. We want to have that interaction again, getting that community feeling again. And even if it has to be in my backyard and I can only invite like 50 people, then it will be like 50 people the first week, 50 people the next week, and so on. I will make things work. But
yeah, we need all the things that you said, and bumper cars. You didn't mention bumper cars yet. So that needs to be included as well. I think we can do that safely, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the pricing. They're probably going to be a little bit more expensive because of the COVID pandemic. But yeah, if we can find local companies willing to sponsor, hell yeah, we have bumper cars, we have like roller coasters, if you can imagine it, and we can purchase it or rent it.
Just rent it all. Rent it all.
Rent it all. Yeah. So the Tomorrowland place, that's a large enough space. So yeah.
It's available. Just do it. Take a little risk.
Yes. Okay. Well, looks like it's almost your turn. So
yes.
If people want to chime in on the discussion here, maybe you have some crazy ideas.
Some people typing here.
Yeah, my dream is still to have like the how you call it, the Space Mountain of
Disney?
Of Disney World.
Oh wow, that on the parking lot of Ter Elst.
Yep,
would be pretty epic.
That's still my dream.
You can make it happen. You've already proven that some things are possible if you put your mind to it. So just do it.
Yes. And the football, the live version of the football was also awesome.
I can imagine something by it, but I think I wasn't at the conference that year because I have no memories of tafelvoetbal, of levend tafelvoetbal.
Well, you know where the fries stands were?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right next to it.
Okay.
It was like a decent swimming pool in your garden, but then with air, and then you get to play football.
We need that too back. So we already have bumper car, Space Mountain, and levend tafelvoetbal. Maybe also do laser shooting. You also had laser shooting in the jungle. Bring that back too. Like we bring everything back. If you all come, if all attendees come back, you bring all joy back. Yeah.
And Nerf guns.
And Nerf guns, yeah. Yeah, I already have enough of them at home. I can do like a battle every day with my kids if I want to. But sure, I want to do that with adults too.
Yeah. PHPBenelux, the Nerf gun edition. Yeah.
Yep. Man, a ton of good ideas for the next 5 years.
Wait, 5 years? No. The moment we are opening up, we're opening up.
Yeah.
All registers. Okay, well, it's 10 past the hour. So
All right.
let me just give you a proper presentation.
All right.
So, Freek Van der Herten, Myray.app, under the hood. I think this is going to be very interesting because you have been giving away a lot of vouchers for the app. Now people can actually see how they properly should use it.
Yeah, indeed.
So, take it away.
Okay, let me share my screen again, like this. And then I can remove this. This little thing can go away, and then we have like an empty canvas to work on. I have no slides at all. And if I'm really honest, I didn't rehearse at all. So I'm winging it a little bit, but I want to have like this talk more have like the feeling of a on-conference than like a proper conference talk. And if you have any questions at all, just let me know. I can't see it because the window is minimized, but Mike, feel free to interrupt me if there are questions or something like that, so that there is a little bit of activity going on.
I will go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Now you're like some kind of god in my ears. I can't see you, but I hear you in my head. Okay, how am I going to start? Let me first introduce myself for people that don't know me. I'm Freek Van der Herten. I'm a PHP developer and Laravel enthusiast at a company called Spatie. Let's go to Spatie. Spatie is a web development agency for half, and the other half is more like a digital product creation. So we do some web application creation for private clients, but I think half of our time is now also spent on creating digital courses and digital products. So you can see some of our products here. We have Ray here. I'm going to talk about that, but we have a couple of others here as well. Now, next to all the paid things, we also have like free things, a lot of free things. Our company is very active in the open source space and certainly in the Laravel ecosystem. I think we have created about nearly 200 packages now. I've lost count, and they have been downloaded in total now for more than 130 times. And counting. On our website, you can see the most popular packages and their download count. Now, those packages, they aren't entirely free. There's a special license on them. That license is called postcardware, and that means that if you use one of our packages in production, you have to send us a postcard. And all those postcards, they hang on a wall in our office, but you can enjoy them as well, because on our website, we also have a virtual postcard wall. And here you can see all the postcards that we get. I think I'm currently missing about 135 million cards, so keep them coming, I'd say. Okay, so now you know me a bit. Let's move on to what I actually wanted to say. We are going to talk about a tool I developed called, together with my team, called Ray. It's a debugging helper. You can see here that it's a commercial product, but I don't want to make like a commercial talk with it. I'm not here to sell it to you, but in order to know what we are going to talk about, I need to demo it to you. So that's what the talk is going to be. I'm going to demo Ray a little bit to you. We're going to dive into the internals, or maybe I'll just say some stuff about the internals while I'm demoing it. I'm not sure. We'll see what where this all will lead us. And afterwards, you can ask me anything that you like. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Ray. And I'm not going to start with opening the app and demoing to you. I'm going to start with why did we create this. Now, in the summer, I came across this tweet, and I think it's a little bit of a famous tweet now. It's Dirk Rettans saying, this is the creator of Xdebug, in case you don't know, and he said, PHP developers that don't use Xdebug for debugging are amateurs. Now, this tweet caused some commotion, and I agree, it sounds a little bit harsh, but I've talked to Derek a few times in real life, and I'm pretty sure that he didn't meant it as harsh as it was stated here. But you can see there was a lot of reactions that came here. Now, I don't want to judge Xdebug for anything. Xdebug is a fantastic tool that can help you a lot, but there are a lot of people that feel some friction when using it. It can be slow, certainly Xdebug 2. In Xdebug 3, many performance issues were already solved, and people still have sometimes trouble installing it. And also that has been improved. Derek has improved the whole experience a lot. But still, it's something extra that you need to install, and a lot of people, maybe it's maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but they feel that it's like a heavy tool to use. And I think everybody listening to this talk has actually also solved debugging, has also solved problems in another way without using Xdebug, by simply dumping stuff, using functions like a print R or dump if you use Laravel or Symfony to just put things on the screen. And that has many benefits because it's fast, it's available everywhere. You can just add a statement, just remove a statement. And for a lot of small bugs, that is actually a very valid way to solve that kind of bug without having to use something like Xdebug. And I feel I'm going to speak for myself. I do this a lot, like printing something to the screen. I sometimes also use Xdebug, and I feel that a lot of people do this as well. So in my mind, dump and die debugging is for me on the same page as Xdebug. Now, dump and die debugging, it has a few problems. And I'm going to demo it, or I'm just going to say it. I'll just say it because everybody has felt this too. If you are dumping something to the screen, it can be a little bit confusing because you can go a little bit too far with dump and die debugging. If you find yourself putting a lot of statements, a lot of print R statements while you are debugging, then the output of your browser can become quite confusing because you see the layout of your site, and then you see some debugging info. Also, if you're debugging on the CLI, after a while, you don't know anymore if you maybe performed your test once or twice. Is this output from the first test or from the second test? It can be a little bit confusing. And I think everybody, I'll speak for myself. I've done this after adding print R statements or dump statements to the code. I had to hunt them down in order to remove them again, but I forgot to remove one at a certain place, and I just pushed it to production, and now I'm dumping in production. Now there are tools that stop you from this, but I'm sure that even though you use some of those tools, you'll come across a situation where you by accident put a dump statement into production. And those are the negative things of dump and die debugging. Now, those negative things where you get confused by lots of output and your layout breaking, that made me wonder, hey, can we do this better? You know, just like Xdebug is like a premium tool for like step debugging in your code, can we make dump and die debugging much better and just get rid of all of the negative aspects? And yeah, that is what me and my team try to do with creating Ray. Let me open up the homepage again. So Ray is, our subtitle is Dump Debugging Evolved. And what Ray basically is a screen, a dedicated screen to send all of your debugging information to. And then that was like the basic idea. And then we added a lot of niceties to it. Now, let me just demonstrate those niceties to you. So I'm going to open up a PHP Storm project, the Ray demo app. Yeah, and I upgraded to the new PHP Storm today. It has a fancy new loading screen. It's still not too fast to boot up, so hang on with me. This is not the right site. I should have the demo, Ray demo app. It's this one. Yeah. And here I have an application. And it's a Laravel application, but that doesn't matter. These are basically just commands with little demos that I can execute very quickly. These are CLI commands, and for every feature of Ray, I've created a command. But we're not going to go through them all. I'm going to just show you the very nice ones. This is basically my application where I test Ray in. So let's open up the Ray application itself. So Ray is a desktop application. It's actually an Electron application, but don't let that bother you. It's pretty fast, and it because it is Electron, it can run anywhere. So we have a version for Mac, for Windows, and for Linux. And behind the scenes, this is basically a React application. So this is basically a JavaScript website where there is an HTTP server built in that listens for certain messages. We'll dive into that a little bit later. Okay, let's maybe start with the basics. How do you send like debugging information to Ray? Now, the only thing that you need to do inside of your own PHP application is to install a small package into it, and we have like packages for a generic PHP project, for WordPress, and also for Laravel. And I'm going to demo the Laravel package to you, but most of the features are just the same in the other integrations. So what this package gives you is a function called Ray, where you can send something to the screen. And I'm going to type Ray here and add some things. But you must a little bit imagine that imagine that you're like in a debugging scenario and you're putting like print R's all over the place, and instead of using print R, you're going to use Ray to dump stuff. Okay, let's dump our first thing. Hello Meetup, yeah, and I'm going to execute this function. Or this command demo. You can see here that we get hello Meetup, and again this is just an empty command to demo things. But imagine that I'm adding this to my own production code that I found a little bug in. So you can see that we got the text here, of course, but we also have where this has been sent to Ray. So if you want to clean up after yourself, let me go to another file. So here I'm in another random file. I can just click this, and I'm immediately back. Like I've set this debugging statement here, so I can just remove it again. So no more. Where did this debugging statement come from? We just tell you, hey, you send it to us here. And of course, in this function, hi everybody, or just hi. It accepts basically everything and how many arguments that you want. So no need to use array multiple times, just give it anything you want. You can even send large objects to it. So this is the app object of Laravel. This is one of the biggest objects probably in the app. So let me just send all of that to array. And you can see that we can display an array, and we can even make it a little bit collapsible. And here's that big ass object, and you can just open up things to get more detail out of this. And now you also can see that this window, it stays on top. So it floats over your other programs. And for me, this is really nice, because if I'm like debugging like a website, I can just put it like in the middle of this, and I always see it. I also have hotkeys to empty the screen. So here with this plus, I can manually do it. And let me add something back here. But I also have like a hotkey that I can use to just clear the screen from while I'm in PHP Storm. So I don't need to actually go and make this program active. I also have like a hotkey to just make it visible and make it invisible again. So these are pretty nice things. What Ray can also do is give things like a color. So imagine that you're in like your big debugging scenario, and you've put some Ray statements everywhere, but you want to highlight a certain statement. Like this is an important one. Like you really want to see if this was logged. Then you can give it a color. You can just say, hey, this should be in red. And let's demo it again. And you can see here that sorry about that. We give it a little red highlight here. You can also filter these things. So here I see all the green things, but I haven't got anything green. And if I filter for the red things, then I see the red thing there again. So that is how that works. That are like the basic things of Ray. And yeah, these functions are available for every framework, but now come like the real niceties. So with which one should I start? Maybe the pausing of code. So we can actually send a breakpoint in your code, which is pretty awesome, I think. So let me how am I going to demo this? Or maybe I already have a demo for this, right? The pause command. Yeah. So what we are going to do is we are going to clear the screen. This is something that you can also programmatically do. I have forgotten to show you that. So if you want to have like a new screen every time, let's just log the current time and do a clear screen here. Clear screen. Hey, everyone. And execute this. And you can see that I can programmatically just clear my debugging screen. And this is really helpful if you put this in the beginning of your test. And you run the test again, then you only see the output of your current test. You don't need to think, hey, is this the output of the current run or the previous run? You know that you got a new screen. If you want to see the old output again, you can just push this little button here, and this is the old output. That's how that works. So if I do this again, you can see that the screen is cleared, and that we all also have that timestamp. Okay. Let's go back to the pause command. So we can actually pause your code here. We're going to clear the screen. We are going to pause the code. And after we have after we have said the pause is done, we are going to see after the pause. And I also have like this echo statement here, which will be shown on the terminal when this command is actually finished. So let's try this one. Pause. And you can see here that in Ray, we are pausing now. We have a continue and a stop button, and the code isn't continuing. So we don't see after the pause here. And you can see here that my terminal is hanging. So you see here that, we are not executing this. Now, if I say continue here, then we're continuing the execution. And then here you see the after the pause, which I can click and just jump to. And you can see that my command is ended. So, and this is without any PHP extension at all. You can pause the code. And this can be very handy when you're like debugging things with side effects. Like if you're debugging something that writes to a database in a loop, then you can just pause an iteration of the loop to inspect the state of the database. Or maybe when you're debugging API kind of things, you can just set like a sort of poor man's breakpoint there, but you don't need to have any extensions to get to this. Let's see another nicety. So I think it's here. This is a Laravel specific nicety. In Laravel, when you want to send a mail, you have to create a mailable. A mailable is like a first class object that says like, this is like the CC, BCC, this is the content, in this case, a markdown file. This is the subject. And what Ray can do is you can actually send like mailables to Ray. So let me just execute this command and let's see what happens. So whenever you send a mailable to Ray, we just render it out. So you can just inspect it in Ray itself if everything is like you thought that would render. So this is a very easy way to test mails. This is also very handy. Let's see if I have an example of that. I think it's in the log command. Yeah. So this is also related to mails. So the cool thing is that whenever a mail is sent in a development environment of Laravel, Laravel will actually write the mail to the log. And we will, or Ray will just recognize that a mail has been written to the log. So here, without sending any Ray call at all, let me clear the screen here, we will see this mail. So I'm going to execute this command, log, and you can see that the mail is here as well. This is very handy. For instance, if you want to test out functionality like password resets, then in the browser, you can just use the password reset. And in Ray, you will automatically just see the mail that has been sent, and you can just click the button here, reset my password. So it's very handy for testing those kind of flows. Let me show you another thing that we can do. Ray can show you a lot of things that are happening in your application as well, such as queries. So what are we going to do here? We're going to get a new screen here. I already got a new screen here, but that doesn't matter. And then we are going to say to Ray, hey, show me all the queries that are being performed in this request. And here I'm just going to perform a query. I'm going to remove this one. This was one for my testing. Let's see if this is going to work. I actually don't know if I've seeded the user, but maybe if it goes wrong, then we'll have an exception, and then you can see how exceptions are being handled in Ray. So let me just execute this one. I have a user, and you can see here that we beautifully format queries as well. So this is the query that has been performed here. And a cool thing is also that Ray actually knows where the query is being performed or which part of your code does that. So here Ray says, hey, you perform the query here, user first. The actual query is being performed by the Laravel framework somewhere deeper. But Ray knows the framework, so it skips out all of the framework frames, and it just says you, hey, it comes from this file inside of your application, which is probably what you want to know. So it's easy to hunt down the origin of queries. Should you for some reason only want to see the queries of a certain piece of code, you just start with show queries and you can do stop showing queries. Let's see if there is another fun one here before we dive into the internals. Maybe the exception, that you can see how an exception looked like. So here I'm just going to throw an exception. Throw the exception. And here you can see that, we render it beautifully again. You can see the message, the type, but we also just display the entire stack trace. You can open up some things here. You can even go to these to this piece of code if you want to. Another cool thing is if you want to share an exception with one of your colleagues, you can do that as well. This is really neat, I think. So you can press here share exception, and then you have like the public share button. And if I click that, the browser is opening up behind it. Then you can see this exception being available on a public URL. Let me open up this thing here again and just put it in the chat so you can view that thing here. So that link is actually leads to the exception that I just generated. Now, if you should think, hey, that exception, it should be removed online, then you can do that as well. Let me just generate another exception. Or let me go to the previous one. Where is it? I seem to have lost it, but let's share this again and press this link, share admin. If you use the admin link, they can actually delete the share if you wanted to, if you didn't want to have it here. That's how exceptions work in Ray. Now let's maybe do one more thing of demoing Ray before going into some of the internals, because I want to leave some time for questions as well. And that is that you can use Ray locally, but you can also use it for debugging stuff on remote servers, which is, I think, a very nice feature. So let's deploy something to an actual website. So I'm going to deploy something to our company website. And we have, this is the actual code of some of the spatie.be websites. Our entire website, by the way, is open source. If you go to spatie.be, then you can see the actual code that is deployed on our website. If you want to see like a sizable Laravel project, how it works internally, go to this repo. Let's go to the actual site itself. On our site, we have like this little blog section. Our entire team has personal blogs, and we have like a feed here that contains all of the things written on the personal blog. So my colleague Sebastian, he has read a book, Atomic Habits, which is really good. He blogged about that. I blogged a little bit, or Brent blogged a little bit about event sourcing. I blogged a little bit about console signals in Laravel. Yeah, you get the point. This is basically a feed of all the blogs. And I see that I have to fix this encoding thing here, which is probably something that all of you have done wrong at some point as well. We're all web developers. Now let me just add something to the controller that handles this page. So this is actually that controller, And let's add something here. Hi, Meetup. And let's commit that, put that in the repo and deploy that piece of code. And open up Ray. I'm going to add like a new screen here. And in order to see this Ray call, and I'm going to emphasize this again, this code is now running on a remote server, not on my machine. There you have this little button, and you can actually connect to other servers. So I'm going to connect to our company site, and let's see what happens when I refresh this page. Oh, I should close this. You can see here that we have Hi Meetup, and it was generated in blocks controller on the spatie.be server. Let's refresh again. Yeah, maybe somebody at the Meetup can go through spatie.be and you and test it out. And you see that some people are already tested, or one person has tested out, second person has tested out. See it? So it really worked. Now, how does this work under the hood? Because you might think, hey, isn't this pretty insecure to do it like this? Because we're now here just passing a simple string, but you can pass objects and everything you want back, possibly containing some sensitive information. Now, how this works behind the scenes is that we open up an SSH tunnel. So if you add a server here, you must give us like a private key path, username, and your host, and we'll actually use an SSH connection between your server and Ray. And that SSH connection is pretty safe. So it does this communication to put this string from the website to the Ray app. It doesn't happen via HTTP. It happens via SSH. So nobody can listen in on that if you use like public-private keys in a normal way. So that is Ray. Let's talk a little bit about the internals of Ray. Now you have a feeling of what it can do. So I've already said that you have to install like a little package. Let me open up the composer.json file and just dig out Ray here. And you can see here that I've installed Laravel Ray here. It's in my my vendor directory. And Laravel Ray, it basically itself, it depends on a Ray package. This Ray package. And this is the framework agnostic Ray. And most of the things happen here. Now, those packages themselves, they are open source. So if you go to our GitHub organization, Spatie, and go to Ray, then you can see the actual code of the package here. We've launched Ray, I think end of January or beginning of February, but you can see that it's already becoming quite popular. We almost have like, where was it? Here. Almost 500,000 installs. Now, that doesn't mean that we have 500,000 sales. That would be very nice. But people seem to be loving this package. Let's go back to the code, to Ray, and see what happens. So this is the actual code of the Ray package. And everything begins here in the helpers file. In the helpers file, you can see that we have defined that Ray function, and you can see that it basically takes on anything you give it. So you aren't limited to just one argument, just give us everything that you want. And here you can see what we try to detect is there like a specialized package installed? So we're going to hunt for, is Laravel Ray loaded? Because if Laravel Ray is loaded, we are going to just yield control to the Laravel Ray class because it has specialized methods for Laravel. You can see that we have other specialized packages as well, such as Craft, Yi, WordPress. Symfony isn't quite finished. If there's anybody amongst you that knows how to program Symfony packages well, get in touch with me, because I'm struggling a little bit with getting the Symfony package to work. All the normal things work, but like getting like the event, when is a doctrine query being performed or when is a mail being performed, is quite difficult to do, or for me, it's difficult to do. In Laravel, it's kind of easy because, I know Laravel pretty well and everything is tightly or beautifully integrated, I should say. But in Symfony, it's all a little bit messy, but I blame my lack of experience. But if you know Symfony well and want to help me create like the Ray package for Symfony, get in touch. Not mentioned here is that we also have a package for Ruby, which was also fun because I didn't know how to write Ruby. I've learned it while creating Ray. Okay, so we have defined this function, and if none of the specialized functions exist, then you can see that we use like the Ray class here, which is included in the Ray package itself. So here we are in like the framework agnostic code. And you can see that we set up a couple of things here. We set up some things in a static way as well. Maybe I can do that a little bit later after we've dived into the code. You can also use Ray to measure performance. And in order to do that, we need to register some stopwatches in a static way. You can see that we use a client. This is basically the client that will communicate with Ray. I've already said it in the beginning, but I'm going to repeat it. That Ray communicates with, or the Ray package communicates with Ray via HTTP. And how that works is that the PHP side of things, it just sends an HTTP request to a certain port, and Ray is listening on that port. If we go to the preferences here, then you can see which port it is. I've just randomly picked it. It's 23517. So we are listening for all messages on that port. While I'm here, I should also say that for some people, this is, I think, the most important feature of all. We also have a dark mode, so you can see all the things in a dark way. Let's see if I can. This is the Spatie website. Let's go to the other one here. Maybe an exception or something. That everything renders beautifully in dark mode as well. I might have just sold 100 copies. Okay, let's go back to the Ray function itself. So here we have the client. And what is going to happen when we call just Ray with nothing? Then we are going to call the send function on the Ray class. And here you can see that what we are going to do is we are going to convert all those arguments to a certain payload. And a payload that is basically just a message in a format that Ray understands, and we are going to create it for these values. Now, let's maybe go to that payload factory, but not to the payload factory itself, but I just clicked it to go to the tree to get a bearing of where we are. The payload factory, it will actually create one of these payloads for us. So we have a log payload. It's a very simple one. It will just send values to Ray. So the two most important things of a payload are this: it's the type and the content. The type is something that hints to Ray, you need to render it this way, and the content says like this is what you need to render. And this is like the most simple one, just log something and do it with these values. It's also easy to create extra payloads. Payload is just an abstract class, and I think where is it? Here on top. You just have to implement that abstract function get type. And get content is an empty array if you don't do anything. But if you want to send something, you need to override this function like we've done in the log payload. Now back to Ray. So we have the payload. So this is what we are going to send to Ray. Then we are going to send a request to Ray itself. Let's see what happens here. It's just a few extra steps. So there's actually a way to disable Ray. So if in any part of your code or for a certain test you don't want to have like Ray calls, you can do something like this. You can just do Ray disable, and it will disable from there on. So here we are going to check if Ray is in an enabled or disabled state. If it's disabled, we're just going to return, just don't do anything. If for some reason payload wasn't an array, we're going to make it an array. Here we are going to add certain version numbers to Ray so that the Ray application might know, hey, I need to do something specific for this payload because it got sent with this version of the package. So we are going to add the package to the payload. We're also going to add some extra meta information to the payload. Let's see here. Yeah, and then we are going to make a request of all those payloads. And a request, that's basically something that we are going to send to the client. What are we going to do in this request? It's just a combination of the payloads and the metadata. We also have a UID here. This is pretty important. Remember that we have this UID. I'm going to demo something else with this later on. And then we are going to send that request to the client. And the client, that is basically, we didn't opt to using Guzzle to send a request here because we might have projects where Guzzle can't be installed. We are just going to do hardcore curl here, there, and there are some curl things going on here. That's all to just send a request in like a safe way without depending on anything. You can also see that we test here if the Ray application is available. Because if we detect that the Ray application isn't available, if it isn't running, we are just going to cop out here to just let your code continue as fast as possible. And if I'm not mistaken, we are even going to remember that the server isn't available, just to make it faster. If you have like stray codes, stray Ray function calls in your code and aren't running Ray, that we aren't slowing down your code. So that's what's happening here. Now, I've also said that we generate a UID and send that to Ray as well. Why do we do that? Well, let me jump back to the demo here, and I've said something like, if you saw me do something like this here. This is important. And I'm going to make that red, right? Okay. Let's open up Ray to see if that is actually still working. And sure enough, it is still working. And yeah, we're all PHP programmers here, probably. You could ask yourself, how does this even work? When is the request being sent? Because there are some other methods that you can use as well. You can use large here to get it here in a larger type. But you might ask, yeah, when is the request being sent? Is it being sent by the Ray function? Is it being set by the red function? Is it being set by the large function? What is like the finishing function of the chain that is actually going to communicate with Ray? How does it come that this actually works without having me to do something like this, send it now? And in an earlier version, we had it like this, like you can configure it with Ray and then you have to send it to Ray. But I think to me, having to do this is like, that's like death to the whole concept, because you want to make print R and dump easier. And I'm pretty sure if you don't want to do something like this when sent to screen or something, that's just too much work to do. We're lazy programmers. We don't want to do that. All of these combinations should just work. Now, to answer the question, when is the request being sent? Well, it is being sent by all of these functions. And how it works is that this is being sent. This function sends it first, so it sends this is important to Ray. And what this function does is, it will actually send it to Ray, and it will also generate a UID and hold that into memory. And what this function returns is actually an instance of Ray where that generated UID is being kept, and we use the same UID in this request. And then, this function is also going to send a request with the same UID. And that way, the Ray application knows, hey, the same UID is used. I'm just going to apply the effect of this on what is happened here. Now, let me show you this in a little bit slower. So, hi, everyone. Then I'm going to sleep, maybe for 2 seconds. And let's hold the instance here. Let's maybe, now make it red. We are going to sleep again, maybe for 2 seconds. Let's maybe, because you can do this too, let's maybe then, not like that, but like this. Let's then remove that line that we just added. And maybe let's start by clearing the screen. Ray clear screen, like that. Clear screen. Okay, and let's demo this. Now you can see, hi everyone. After 2 seconds, it's become red. And 2 seconds later, it's gone again. And that's how it works. All of these functions, they send like HTTP requests to there. Now let's finish with maybe one more demo here before we dive into any questions, should there be some. And that is like that's something that I forgot to demo, and that is how you can measure the performance of certain pieces of code. It's laughably simple. So what you can do is just call measure, and if you call this the first time, then we start the clock. We start measuring until you do Ray measure again, and then the clock is stopped. So you don't need to do your whole thing of like keeping like maybe a global variable around with a micro time in it, and then calculating how many micro or milliseconds. You probably get it wrong. What the difference is between those two to get like your delta there. This way is just much simpler, and let me just demo it to you. Maybe let's just add something else here, a third measure, and let's run this. So we start measuring performance. After 2 seconds, you can see that our total time is 2 seconds. Since the last call, it was also 2 seconds, and we're using 20 megabytes of memory. And then the third time, you can see that we have in total used up 4 seconds, and since the last call, since this line here, it was 2 seconds. And this can be pretty handy. All of these functions also accept like closures. So if you want to like measure like the how long a certain closure takes you, or piece of function, because you can't just do anything here. Just give it like this, and measure will actually output the time that it took to run this little closure. Now, finally, I want to bring your attention to like some finer details we added to the desktop application. Some of you might have noticed it. I should before I continue with this, I should say that I didn't design this application by myself. There's actually quite a few members in my team that helped me create Ray. And special credit goes to my colleague Willem, who was in charge of making this all look beautiful. The detail that I want to put your attention to is, like, see this measure little label here? When we start measuring, like, the dotted lines are below to signify, hey, we start measuring. And if there's another measure call, you can see that, like, the dotted line is on the top, meaning like these ones hold together. And to me, these nice touches is what makes the application breathe a little bit. So if you want to know more about Ray, go to the homepage of Ray. It's at Myray.app. I recorded a little demo here of all the things that it can do. We've also have written quite a lot of documentation on it. So you can see all install instructions. We even have clients for Go and for JavaScript and for Bash. Even for those that want to debug their Bash scripts, you can send things to Ray via Bash. And you can see, all the niceties that Ray has here. I've provided screenshots for every feature, so you can toy around with it. By the way, Ray is also there is a free trial. The free trial unlocks everything. There's just a limit that you can just send 10 items to it, and then you have to restart it again. That's the only limit there. So that is what I wanted to say about Ray. I hope that you liked it. Even if you decide that you don't want to use Ray, I hope that you are a little bit inspired by how much time we took to get our API just right and to just polish things, because these things are probably things that you need to do in your application as well, to make code easy to use and to make things look nice. That's it. That's it for me. Let me open up this again.
I'm approaching. There
we
go.
Mike.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Here we are back. Thanks.
Yeah. While you were presenting, I was like, oh gosh, this is so much integration into resilience testing. You and I, we need to talk.
Okay. We can talk. No problem.
All right.
Maybe after maybe after this meetup.
Let's go to the Q&A, because there were pretty lot of questions. So the first one is there a tool to clean Ray occurrences from your code once done with debugging?
Well, not really. I'm looking for this. Can you put up my screen again, Mike? Then I'll demo a thing that I didn't show. Okay, so something that I didn't show you was that there's actually a button here, and it shows you basically all files and all line numbers where you have Ray calls. So you don't have to, if you have like a lot of calls, you don't have to scroll to the entire list. You can just click these ones to just go to where these are and just remove them one by one. Now, deleting them automatically is incredibly hard, and I've tried, but it's very hard, because with like regular reflection, you know where a command ends, but you don't know where it actually starts. So this is quite easy. You could just say, hey, remove line 15 and just be done with it. But then these lines will have shifted as well. Now then I see you thinking, just start at the bottom, just do 22, do it away, and do this away. Yeah, sure, that's easy if it's only one line. But imagine that you're doing something like this, maybe a 1 or something, where you have like multiple lines, and you need to know where did it start and where did it end. And then you can have stuff like this, where you do like another Ray call in here. And you should also know that if you get this wrong and you delete this, congratulations, you've just broken an application and you've left it in an invalid state. I haven't come across like a way of doing this automatically that works in all cases. Also, some things like this where you do like array here, and maybe you have some stray array thing here, and here you do something else with it, red or something. Yeah, you will have this and this, but this you won't have, and then you've left it, and you don't have that variable anymore, and you've broken the code again. I think that cleaning up after myself is something that I really want to have, but only if it's guaranteed that I don't break people's projects, and I haven't found like a good way to do that. So that's why it isn't. It wasn't in there. But I've tried for several days to get this right. That's the answer.
All right, let's continue. Q&A. Good. Next one.
Keep them coming, Mike.
Yeah. Why did you not use the browser instead of Electron by Jupyter, for example, to offer the option to use the browser instead of Electron if you don't need to feature like global hotkeys but care about disk space and update time?
Well, I do care about those hotkeys. I think that those hotkeys are pretty essential to the whole experience, so that you can just remove it or hide it with a hotkey or clean it with a hotkey, that you can make it as big as small as you want. And also, if you're debugging like a web application, that you're not working like with multiple browsers or with multiple tabs, and you don't want to do any window management. Window management is actually much nicer if you just have it in a separate application. I could have gone for the route of adding it to like a console and make it a tab there, but it wouldn't be as nice as just leaving it on its own. I haven't demoed this, but you can also have it like a menu bar thing where it lives in a menu bar, and a lot of people use it that way too. So I think having it in the browser would be like a lesser experience. Now, your other remark about disk space, I think the Ray application takes 150 megabytes, which I think is next to nothing with what most developers have in their machines. I think you should compare it to PHP Storm. It will be much lighter. And update time, I think it's negligible update time. Because updating is only like once a week. It takes like 5 or 10 seconds, and that's basically nothing. I think when the tool is booted up, it's very fast. So I don't think update time is a real concern here. Much as like the startup time of PHP Storm isn't a real concern. It's only happening once, and when it's loaded, it just works, and you don't have to think about it.
All right. Good. Lost my mouse. Okay. When you show a mailable, does it also load any external images? I think you showed this.
Yeah, it loads external images. I showed it with like an internal image, but if the URL of the image is a public URL, then we'll load it as well. Yeah, there's even a function Ray image, and it accepts like a path to an image, and it will show you that image. So that's Ray is basically just like a Chrome browser in an Electron app. Basically, all Electron apps are just sites in a Chrome browser, and Chrome is pretty good at displaying images. So Ray can do that.
Nice. Next one. How does raying HTML, XML, JSON looks like?
Pretty good question. Can you show my screen again? Then I'll just show it. We have functions for both XML and JSON. I have here a little example. Let me just show it to you. Let's just execute it to JSON. Everybody probably has done this, like JSON, or maybe it's just in my mind. JSON. You can see here that we do it in a collapsible way, even just the same as we do it for arrays. So this is the to JSON. So this is just an array that we want to see as JSON information. And here we just display a JSON string, and when you add some when you use the JSON function, then we show it to you as an array. Now, if you do the to JSON function, so this is JSON, we even have like a copy button here where you can just copy the JSON and use it somewhere else if you like. I think I forgot to show you that, but with the I think the query example, there is also a copy button here that you can use to just copy this query and use it somewhere else. And for XML, we have the same function, so it works in the same way.
Okay, back to the Q&A.
Yes.
How do you work on light mode? Probably about your browser or your PHP Storm setting, because you already showed dark mode. So
yeah, I'm actually a pretty big fan of light mode everywhere. I'm not going to dive too deep on this, but it's actually scientifically proven that light mode is much better than dark mode for your eyes. And if your biggest complaint of light mode is, hey, this hurts my eyes, then you should just turn down the brightness of your monitor. It's actually scientifically proven that you can read faster on lighter with a light background than with dark letters. You've never asked for a newspaper, hey, I want to have a dark background in light letters. So you shouldn't ask this for monitors as well. This is a little bit of a personal, it's not even an opinion, it's scientifically proven. My colleague Brent is very passionate about this, and on his blog Stitcher.io you'll also find a few articles about that. I know a lot of developers find it strange, but try it. I think like 70 or 80% of the people that have tried light mode didn't go back to dark mode at all.
Well, just to prove your point, I'm also a light mode developer.
Yeah, team light mode. Boom.
All right, next one. So, that was something I saw. You integrated with Flare.app. I only saw Laravel projects, but someone already mentioned it's only Laravel at this point.
It's also for PHP and JavaScript. There are some niceties for Laravel extra in there, but it works just as good as for PHP project as something like Bugsnag or Sentry.
Okay, yeah, I'm using Sentry, so
yeah. I don't want to delve into Flare too much. And to be clear, Flare is also something that our team has created. That's maybe something for a next talk, but I think it's just as good as the others.
Yeah, and don't worry. Like I said, it's a side question.
Yeah.
I will give it a spin.
Cool.
What happens when you add another measure? I think you showed this when you...
Yeah, I had like 3 measures going on, and basically then you measure like the time until the first measure and the previous measure. Now there actually are also some niceties with measure, because you can give measure a certain string. I haven't shown this. I'll just quickly say it in words. You can have like multiple timers in one go, because the measure call will show you the time until the previous measure call, which you gave the same string. So you can have like multiple timers, like timer A, timer B. You can name them however you like. So you can have like multiple timers in there. It's mentioned in the docs. Just take a look there.
Okay. This is a little bit weird one. Couldn't PHP var dump check be used to find ray calls?
Well, I haven't seen this repo at all. Let me just bookmark it.
Maybe let's keep this for the session, the breakout session afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. Let me quickly scan for additional questions. There was. There's one more. Say I'm not a Laravel user, a CakePHP. Can you explain again the steps to have Ray working on my desktop?
The question is not entirely clear, but I'll answer it in the two ways I interpret it. So to get it running in your PHP project, it's just a composer require way. It's just composer require spaCy Ray. So let me head to the docs. And we have framework agnostic PHP. We don't have anything special going on for Cake at the moment. Sorry about that. And then it's just require spaCy Ray. That's basically all you need to do. And yeah, if your question was more about like the desktop application, the desktop application is just a download away here. If you click here, you can choose between macOS, Windows, and Linux versions.
All right. And that's it for questions.
Hooray!
Hooray, we made it.
Yes.
Well, it was a awesome presentation. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So I think that at least I'm very excited to start playing with it. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time since you started throwing free coupons into our community here. But definitely awesome stuff, and I think that a lot of people needed this kind of introduction to the application to fully understand what Ray was all about.
Mm-hmm. I want to mention again that I really don't want to say that Xdebug is something bad or something. For me, it's something complementary. You use Xdebug for a certain kind of errors, or you could do that, and you can use like dump and die debugging or Ray for some certain kind of issues. For me, it's like if I only want to use one debug statement, I probably just do a print R or a dump call. When I see myself do a couple, then I head over to Ray. And if it's something complicated where I need to have like the entire context and I want to know each and every variable, what's it filled with, then I use Xdebug. That's how it works for me. So I really don't want to take a piss at Xdebug by making Ray.
All right. Well, if people have more questions, will you be around for the breakout session?
Yeah, I'll join.
Okay. Then we can have the session, because a lot of people are now eagerly. Ooh, made a typo here. The joined in is still ongoing, so I didn't have the link in time. But we will get there. Your feedback is important because it's the CI/CD for speakers. They want to know what they did good. They want to know what can be improved, and your feedback helps them become better at speaking at events. And why isn't it working? As mentioned, we have an open discussion. We started with this last month, and we will continue with from now on. If people enjoy it, let us know. If people hate it, let us know. It's the only way that we can have like some sort of a feedback about what's going on and how people react to it. So that is important. I think it's raffle time.
Sure.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. That's. I hope Wim is around so he can. Why? Oh, you're still sharing your screen. Can you stop sharing?
And sharing. I'll step out. I'll see you in the next in the breakout.
Okay, awesome.
See you, Mike.
Yep. Okay, so we're at raffle time. Everyone's name is in the list. So wait, I got 27 people. Who's Rolf left. I'm sorry, Rolf, but you have to be present to win. Okay. For what's the gimmick? Raffle time. We're going to raffle. Oh, where's my raffle prices? Here are my raffle prices. Okay, 2 elephants sponsored by Interacto. So let me share my screen so everyone can see who's winning. Click to spin. Robert Brun. Okay, congratulations. And now for the second elephant. Michel Laurent. So we had the 2 elephants, and today is your lucky day because Pasi offers 5 vouchers for Ray, the awesome tool that everyone saw being presented a little bit early. So we're going to do this. So the first one goes to Jan Walraven. Congratulations. The second one. Björn. Yeah, please contact us after the meetup so we know who we need to send the information to. Hendrik. That's the third one. So going for the fourth. Freek, I assume you don't need to have a ticket for this, right? Where is it? In the chat? Come on. It's stuck here. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lifetime license. Okay, that's good. Oh, I should get him out. Sorry. So that was the fourth one. Goes to Mike Saunders. That's the fifth one. Goes to Marco Hein. Okay. I think that we have reached all the prizes. Let me double check here for quick. Yeah, that is it. So again, we have our open discussion session starting pretty soon once I'm done here. I want to thank our speakers and our audience for joining us. Thank you. Hope to see you next time, every second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. in the evening, summertime, wintertime, whatever, whatever makes it tick. So thank you, and we'll start the open discussion sessions right now. So let me see. Do I have everyone?